Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Voice. Now, I've seen a lot of comments for this monster, the Cybop. Now, I think the voice itself is pretty simple. You know, you can it's got this kind of twangy thing. I kind of see him as like a bit of a gruff kind of, maybe an old man or somebody from the South, with a bit of a drawl. And I think that's fairly easy to do. But I think the question is, how do you make it sound like Cybop, all electronic and everything? So I'm not going to give you the exact settings I use because, first of all, I don't remember. And second of all, they're different on each island, too, if you notice. And that's because it's more about the mix of how they all fit together rather than trying to make them all sound the same individually. Let's just lay down some temporary Cybop sounds so we can start playing around with the effects on it. So something like a hey diddle doo dow, a skiddly day, a doo rap a doo da diddly day ba day, hey ba doo dop doo dot day dow, a diddly day da da doo dow, a skiddly doo bow, bip boo ba, beep bop doo bop a billy boo bop bow. Bop boo dow, billy boo bow, ba boo bop a beep bop a billy bop bow bow, yeah. Okay, and there is some Cybop sounds. Ba boo bop a beep bop a billy bop bow bow. So that sounds like just kind of like a bit of a jazzy kind of singer. Now, first thing I would do is look at distortion. Now, distortion comes in many forms. I'm sure you heard of distorted guitar. You can distort a speaker. But basically what distortion is when you are putting too much of the signal through a transistor or a speaker or something. And it just kind of, it ruins the sound or it distorts the sound, which, at first people go, oh, you're ruining it. But you can have some fun with it. Now, I'm just going to use Cubase. I'm going to use the presets in here, whatever comes with it. So I have, let's go to distortion. I'll just go to an amp simulator. Okay. And let's just hear what this sounds like. So something like a hey diddle doo dow, a skiddly day. That's pretty close. Let's hey ba doo dop doo dot day da. Diddly day da diddle dow. Doo bow bip boo ba beep bop doo bop billy boo bop bow. Now, I'm sure I could spend a lot of time on changing different amps and different amounts of drives. If you want it more distorted, you can something like a hey diddle dow, the drive down or up. And, I can EQ it, but in general, that's kind of the feel. But what I do find is that it's a little harsh. So maybe we want to have, just a little reverb on there. So I'm just going to pick an average reverb. So something like a hey diddly doo dow, a little too much. So sounding a little, a little less harsh. Another fun thing that I like to do is put a delay on there. That makes it a little more, I don't know. I'm just a big fan of delay. And let's do a stereo delay. I always like setting it to the rhythm of the song. So maybe an eighth note. So something like a little too much. So now it feels like it's a little more in the real world and not so electronic. Now we have, some delay, some reverb, and some distortion on it. And there's one thing else on there that I might have put on some tracks, but if you ever want to make something sound a little spacey, another thing you can play around with is something called a flanger. Now, a flanger actually is really just playing the same track, but very, very close behind it, and all the waveforms just start canceling each other out, start doing some really weird stuff.
So something like a
So you get this weird kind of sound there. A little much. Just to make it sound a little more, like science fiction-y.
So something like a hey diddly doo dow, a skiddly day,
Yeah, and to me, that's starting to sound like a Cybop. Another option you could do if you wanted to, I wouldn't do all of these together, but you could also do where is it? You could do chorus, which is similar to flanger. I'll take the flange off. But it basically
so something like a hey diddly doo dow,
just
a
makes it,
skiddly day,
again, different.
Hey ba doo dop doo dot day dow, diddly day da diddly doo dow, skiddly doo bow, bit boo bow, bit bop doo bop.
So just a little kind of
boo dow, billy boo bow, ba boo bop bip bop bip. You bow, 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 yeah. So something like a hey.
So yeah, you can stack all of those on. You can just do a couple. I think the main important part is the distortion, and then you play it back, and you got your
hey diddly doo dow, a skiddly day, day doo up a doo da day, day ba day, hey ba doo dop doo dot day dow, diddly day da diddly doo dow, skiddly doo bow, bit boo bow, bit bop doo bop, billy boo bop bow. Bop boo dow, billy boo bow, ba boo bop bip bop billy bop bow bow, yeah. So something like a.
And that is how you make your voice sound like a Cybop. Goodbye.